Hey folks, and happy Pride Month. To mark the occasion, I decided to try a playthrough of Pokémon Shield that, while perhaps not a proper challenge run, had me approach the game in a new way. For those unaware, each Pokémon has a Pokédex color associated with it, typically corresponding to a dominant color in its design. This color was visible in generations 3 through 5 when storing Pokémon in the PC, and could be used to refine Pokédex searches in generations 3 through 7. As of Generation 8, however, this is not visible in-game. With that in mind, here are the guidelines for this themed run. Number 1. All Pokémon I used on my team had to have pink, purple, or blue as their Pokédex color. If an evolved or pre-evolved form didn't have the right color, I couldn't use that evolutionary stage in battle. Number 2, my team order had to start with pink, have purple in the middle, and blue at the end, matching the Buy Pride flag. Number 3, in order to maintain visual balance, I couldn't have more than 2 Pokemon of each color on my team. And number 4, unrelated to the color scheme restrictions, I only used Pokemon introduced in Galar. That's just how I roll. I like to highlight the new introductions in each generation. I also imposed a few other restrictions meant to create an actual, if mild, challenge. Number 1, my battle style was set rather than shift, preventing me from quickly switching out. Number 2, I didn't use any manual healing items during or between battles. Other than hold items, all healing came from camping or a Pokémon Center. In addition, I only camped at NPC campsites. This is the main reason my team order actually mattered. Number 3, my Pokemon's Dynamax level couldn't exceed my number of gym badges. This set 8 as the permanent maximum for the main game. And with that, let's begin the run. I started off, of course, by picking Sobble, the only blue option of the 3 starters. After demonstrating to Hop my knowledge of type advantages, I set off onto Route 1. Didi, a blue Rookidee, soon joined the team. Rookidee, by the way, is the first little wrench in our color setup. While its base stage and first evolution are both blue, it becomes purple upon evolving into Corviknight. That wouldn't come up for a while, but out of an abundance of caution, I kept Didi at the top of my blue section for when the time arrived. Went along Route 2 with no new additions. Choodle, by the way, is green, not blue. I once again stunned Hop with my type advantage proficiency and tried out an awesome move combo. By using Hone Claws to increase Didi's attack and accuracy stats, Power Trip jumps from being a 20 base power move to 60 base power in a single turn, which is then further boosted by that raised attack. Didi used this combo for literally the entire game. I walked straight through the wild area without catching anything, but after receiving a tip from the Motostoke Nurse Joy, I returned to the Wedgehurst train station to pick up my first pink Pokemon, Lola, the Galarian Slowpoke. I want to note that Slowpoke at this point in the game is pretty darn powerful. Even though I wouldn't be able to evolve her until much later, Lola was one of the dominant forces on my team for quite a while. I participated in the opening ceremonies in Motostoke, showed Hop my mastery of type advantages, and then took a trip to the Isle of Armor. I originally went there in hopes of grabbing a Pincurchin, but I soon learned that I needed to be able to cross water to get to its spawning ground. But that was okay. I nabbed the EXP charm, snatched some Galarian twigs for future Slowpoke evolution, evolved Didi, and found an unexpected party member, Kramer the Cramorant. At this point, I had 3 blue Pokemon, so I needed to put one in the PC and start a team rotation. I chose to keep Kramer on the sidelines because, despite being a new capture, he was higher level than any of the rest of my party. On my way out of Motostoke, I realized that the game was trying to make things easy for me. Sonia and other NPCs at various points will freely heal you mid-route, sometimes neutering my attempts at creating an attrition-based challenge. I made curry for the first time. It was okay. On Route 4, I added Millie the Milcery to... Is it Milcery? 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 On Route 4, I added Millie the Milcery to my team. What's that, you say? Datai or Jake, depending on your level of familiarity with me, Milcery's color is white? That's true, which is why, before battling with her, I made a quick trip back to Motostoke to get a suite at the Battle Cafe. I got lucky and nabbed a Clover suite on my first try, then spun just the right spin to evolve Millie into her Ruby Cream form, my second pink Pokemon. Then it was time to take on the first gym. I swapped Kramer in place of Saul, and then cleared it out without much issue. Route 5 brought with it my first purple Pokemon, Trisha the Toxel. With her, I now had every color represented. Hop stood no chance against me and my knowledge of type advantages, but I found a greater challenge upon returning to the Isle of Armor. I was mostly there to do max raid battles and promote max mushroom growth, but I also spent time fighting Avery, who was, no joke, the most challenging battle of the run. Probably because I was underleveled, but still. I made strategic use of Millie's new Gigantamax capabilities, and got a bit of a preview of how powerful Lola would become upon evolution. I continued to return to the Isle of Armor periodically between gyms. My numerous defeats to Avery provided my team with Dragon Ball Z-style Zenkai boosts, so upon returning to the mainland, I made short work of Hulbury Gym. I fought my way through Galar Mine 2 to Motostoke Outskirts, where I picked up a pair of pink newcomers, Deckard the Impidimp and Hattie the Hatena. Now overstocked on pink Pokemon, I began rotating that part of my team as well. In the Fire-type Motostoke Gym, Trisha evolved into her amped form, but the gym otherwise went by without incident. On a quick visit to the Isle of Armor, I came across a max raid battle against a Clobopus. Although Clobopus itself is brown, it evolves into the blue Grapploct. So I nabbed Octavia, gave some goodies to the Cramomatic to acquire a Taunt TR, taught it to Octavia, and evolved her into Grapploct so she could join my team's rotation. On Route 6, Deckard evolved into Mogram, and I found myself tempted by the allure of fossil Pokemon. I needed to do a bit of searching and watt spending to get the Pokemon I was looking for, so this wouldn't pay off until later, but rest assured, it was on my mind. In the bizarrely named Stowan side, I taught Hop a bit about type advantages before mostly sweeping the Ghost-type gym with Deckard's dark moves. Then, Hattie joined her brother in the Evolution Club after a battle with Beed? Bede? Beda? Bood? This Beed battle is also when I started to notice the friendship mechanic making a difference. My team had become a bit more affectionate every time I made curry with them, and from this point on, team members occasionally started toughing out otherwise devastating blows. After Stow-on-Side, I finished fossil hunting and revived my prize, Vic the Arctovish. Did he fill many of the same battle roles as Saul? Yes. But was he also an abomination against God, much like me? Yes. Around the time I got to Glimwood Tangle, I found that rotating my team members had started to do a number on my overall team levels, making routes a bit more challenging than I wanted them to be. While I could certainly have balanced this out with EXP candies, I was also starting to figure out my final team, so I held off. I did, however, grab 2 purple Pokemon pals in the Tangle. There was Dia the Indeedee, who honestly never got much of a chance to shine, but there was also Chip the Sinistea, whom I immediately evolved using a cracked pot. Chip soon became a mainstay of the team. And with these additions, I finally had a full team of 6 Pokemon. In Balloonly? Balloonly? Balloonla? Balloonlay? In Balloonly, I determined that Trisha would easily crush the Fairy-type gym, and I therefore opted to give my other team members a chance. Lola dished out some Iron Tails, and I eventually achieved a victory by fish. Upon returning to Hammerlock, I decided that now was the time to stop rotating my team and proceed with a core set of 6. After some EXP candies to even their levels, I marched into the next leg of the game with Lola the Slowpoke, Hattie the Hatchram, Chip the Poltegeist, Dee Dee the Corviknight, Vic the Arctovish, and Octavia the Grapploct. My newly formed team demonstrated our mastery of type advantages to Hop, who I will confess is actually pretty dangerous when he whips out Pyro Ball. I then proceeded to Sirchester, where I had a surprisingly tight battle with Melanie. I learned that Octavia actually has some decent defensive capabilities. These defensive capabilities were especially potent when combined with the move Bulk Up, which raises a Pokemon's attack and defense stats. I demonstrated this, and of course, knowledge of type advantages, to Hop when we defeated him at the Sirchester Hot Springs. After evolving Hattie to her final form, I took another trip to the Isle of Armor and gave her Max Soup. After a few more Max Raid battles, Dee Dee joined her in the G-Max Club. On Route 9, I finally acquired the Rotom Bike's Water Mode, which allowed me to finally cash in the Galarican Twigs I had been hoarding. I traded them for a Galarica Cuff and evolved Lola into the absolute powerhouse that is Quick Draw Galarian Slowbro. All the Gigantamax capabilities I had gone to great lengths to acquire didn't really come into play in the next gym. The Spikemuth gym is the only gym in the region that doesn't have a Dynamax spot. Nonetheless, Hattie and Octavia dominated the competition here without much issue. Some plot stuff definitely happened. Yes, sir, right over there, that's where the plot is, you can trust me, no need to look. And then it was back to Hammerlock for the final gym challenge against Raihan. Raihan actually posed a decent threat. I lost a lot of my fairy and ice moves early on, and with no mid-gym or mid-battle revivals, I was ill-equipped to handle his team. I got a lucky quick draw on his Flygon, managed to counteract the attack drops from Breaking Swipe by using Max Knuckle, and got a lucky critical hit on his Gigantamax Duraludon. I could have seen this fight go very differently with worse luck. On the way to Winden, I saw a super rare wild Duraludon, which I tried to catch purely for bragging rights. I failed. At Winden, the moment everyone had been waiting for began. The Champion Cup. I didn't have any particularly good strategies against Marnie, but the advantage of the Champion Cup format is that I got fully healed between each match. This allowed me to go whole hog and beat her more or less with brute force. However, I couldn't allow myself to do that against Hop. After all, if I didn't show him my knowledge of type advantages, did I even really win? That said, Octavia was the star of the show here. I found a use for her otherwise niche move Topsy-Turvy, allowing me to flip the incredible defense boost his Dubwool got from using Cotton Guard into a devastating weakness. Octavia then bulked up, Dynamaxed, and wrecked shop. Then, the game remembered it was pretending to have a villain plot and had me look for Leon. I spent some time fighting Macrocosmos employees that really could have saved everyone a lot of trouble by just being honest about where he was. I mean, the champion was in a meeting with the chairman of the region's Pokemon League. That's only suspicious if you make it weird. Lola was a big asset during this sequence. I had picked up an Earthquake TR from a max raid battle, and she used it to wreck all of the steel types these employees brought out. After all that, Chairman Rose told Leon in no uncertain terms his plan to do something incredibly dangerous. Leon kind of shrugged and then left without ever being in danger, making the previous sequence largely unnecessary. Back at Winden Stadium, the finals began. I beat Bede? I beat Bede with Lola, negated Nessa with Chip, annihilated Alistair with Dee Dee, and also Raihan was there. Chairman Rose then interrupted the tournament by doing the thing he explicitly told Leon he was going to do. I traveled from the northernmost point of the region to the southernmost point, spent a few minutes in the Weald to get the shield, then flew back over the half region again to help solve the problem. Luckily, the crisis didn't escalate at all during that travel time. Rose tried to stall us from helping stop the Darkest Day rather than stopping Leon, who was already interfering. Combat-wise, he offered very little that his employees hadn't already shown, other than some incredible battle music that really deserved a better villain. Ascending the tower, we faced off against Eternatus. Its base form went down to a couple of ice beams, and then its Eternamax form went down to the box art legendaries attacking it while Hop and I just kind of watched. Then it was time for the final battle against Leon. This was a genuinely tense battle, but I definitely won on my first try and didn't get completely swept by his first Pokemon. I got lucky a few times with team members toughing it out, and Vic in particular did good work. Eventually, it came down to Chip against Leon's Gigantamax Charizard. By Dynamaxing, Chip managed to weather enough hits to time out Charizard's Gigantamax and finish him off. The final result, 1-0, the challenger victorious. This was a fun run. The color limitations didn't really add any new challenge, but creating a team around a theme was a fun way to approach the game. I appreciated many of the quality of life features that Sword and Shield provide, like EXP candies, plentiful TRs, and easy move relearning. I would be curious how a run like this would go in a game with a smaller pool of Pokémon to choose from. This video is also an experimental shift away from my usual style. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. I may or may not do other videos like this in the future. Who knows?